everyone, and welcome to this episode of Vantage, the flagship podcast of D Street SRCC, where we bring you conversations with some of the most influential figures shaping the world of finance, economics, startups, and much more. It's my pleasure to introduce you today to Mr. Gautam Bhasin, founder of Prospurts Consulco Private Limited, which he has led for over 14 years. An alumnus of Delhi University and a chartered accountant by training, Mr. Bhasin has an experienced career in personal finance, including leadership roles in equity research and private banking at HDFC Bank. So, thank you for joining us today. It's great to have you on Vantage. On behalf of the entire team at D Street SRCC, we extend our warm regards and truly appreciate you taking your time out to be with us today. I am Manya Uri, and I would be co hosting today's podcast alongside Apar Minda.
Thank you very much for having me over. This used to be SRCC was our dream college when we were doing our graduation. It still is. Feeling privileged to be here with you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manya, and thank you, Mr. Bhasin. It's a pleasure to have you with us here on Vantage today. So let's get right into it now. So before discussing about the finance, wealth management, or industry as a whole, let's firstly talk about your journey and how it has shaped you as an individual today. So you have had quite a journey in your professional career, from an equity analyst to founding Finmart to leading equities and private banking at HDFC, and now 15 years at Prospers. Which of these chapters would you say has shaped you the most as a professional today in the industry?
I would say last 10 years been quite instrumental in helping me where I am. I think out of 25, 26 years of experience in this industry, I would say first 15 years, even I didn't know what I was doing, in real sense. The mistakes we were making, and as an industry, since everybody was making that mistake, or maybe the way we were working, one wouldn't. I didn't realize that there's a better way of helping people create wealth. So last 10 years is when so there was a realization that even though we are trying to help people, we are genuinely not helping them create sustainable enormous amount of wealth. Maybe we were helping people who already had wealth, so we were helping them either preserve wealth or manage wealth. But somewhere I felt that there is a need with working professionals, people who've come from lower middle class background, tier 2, tier 3 cities, doing well, done well academically, doing well professionally. I felt that probably this is the first time this generation is making the kind of money they are making, and they do not have an experience of how a retirement looks like in today's world, wherein our cost of living is pretty high. So I think the learning was there that we need to do something for wealth creation. And last 10 years is when I looked westward. I kind of looked at how firms are working in US kind of economy. US is ahead of us by 40, 50, 60 years when it comes to wealth management, wealth creation. So look there, learned a lot from how successful professionals are working over there. And that is why we will discuss it little later. In my conversations, behavior comes a lot. So first 15 years of my career, I don't think I was talking anything about behavior. I had no clue that behavior management is such a big thing. We were focusing more on analytical part. Like many other people, I also used to think that I can form a view on market successfully, sustainably over a long period of time. And then over a period of time, you realize that it's not possible. That's not possible. You may be right one or two times, but you cannot do it day in day out. For a long period of time. So I think last 10 years is when I have figured out what helps people create wealth, sustainable wealth, which would last for decades. And especially in your retirement phase when there is no inflow, so then that learning has come in last 10 years. So I would say last 10 years was the most important part of my career till date.
So from like a well-established institution like HDFC, you left it in 2011 and you started Prospurts. So growing from a well-established institution to building something entirely from scratch, what was the conviction or what made you take that leap or the risk when you had a secure place at HDFC?
Yeah. So this is my second stint as an entrepreneur. I started my first firm when I was, I think, 20 to 23 in Punjab. I started a broking setup of my own. So I'd already tasted what entrepreneurship looked like, and I've seen those JNS curves wherein you go down the hole and you feel that nothing good is happening, and probably there's no way you can go up, but then over a period of time you figure out ways to go up, you figure out ways to survive. So this time it was not very difficult. I think when I left Punjab and moved to Bombay and joined research with HDFC Bank, the realization was that I should move to a bigger city. So I moved to a bigger city with a view to start something of my own. But when I reached there is when I realized that I'm too young, naive, and probably whatever success I've seen in Punjab, sometimes luck also favors you. Of course, you do hard work and you are disciplined and whatnot. But I felt that I need to learn a lot about this segment, and that is when I felt that I should be working with a larger setup, bigger setup, so as to learn tricks of the trade, so as to learn how bigger setups work, how do they look at wealth management. And while working with HDFC, I knew that at some stage I'm going to start something of my own. It was just that HDFC turned out to be too good for me because I worked there in two capacities. First, I was heading research for the bank, and then I moved to Delhi as head of private banking for one part of North India. Learning was immense. Global financial crisis happened at the same time. You learn a lot about how clients behave, the mistakes advisors do, we do, what are recommendations. You can look back and you can figure out, big holes in your processes. Because when markets are going up, then you don't realize. So global financial crisis happened, and then there again was a lull period after that. So I think it was there in my mind that I have to start something. So it wasn't that great, that difficult to call. It had to happen sometime.
Well, the scale and success of Prospurts is like quite visible. 15 years in the industry, and you're managing 1,000 crores for over 450 families now. You have also spoken about growing slowly, deliberately, and with trust at the center foremost. But in an industry like wealth management, where scale is often, equalized with credibility, how do you resist this pressure to grow faster and move towards growing more slowly and deliberately?
Well, I'll give slightly longish answer to that. See, when I started Prospers, I started focus, as I said earlier, I started focusing on a segment wherein the need was wealth creation and not wealth management and wealth preservation. So when I looked around, I figured out that my friends, my cousins, or my acquaintances who were working professionals, they were not managing their money properly. And I could figure out many reasons. So one, most of us came from tier two, tier three cities. Second, all of us, most of us were from lower middle class background. So no learning of how to manage a large chunk of money. My generation probably was the first generation, or maybe second, you can say, which started making the kind of money we made. It was much more than what our parents used to make. I realized that this segment is going to face a bigger problem because at some stage we'll retire. At some stage we'll be left with between, partners, we'll be left with 30, 40, 50 years of retired life. Wherein if you don't want to compromise on your lifestyle, then you'll find it really difficult to manage. We also realized that a lot of, people from our setup, people elder to me started sending their kids abroad for education. So that itself was a huge financial goal. So looking at all these things, I felt that there is a merit in focusing just on mid and senior level working professionals or new age entrepreneurs, or maybe businessmen who can understand this kind of wealth creation language. So the gap was clearly there, but I was not sure whether this set of client will come to me, whether a CEO of a large corporate would come to somebody like us because they have the option to go to bigger banks, bigger wealth management companies, global brands. So we were not sure whether they will come to us. So problem was there. We had solution in mind. We were not sure whether the market will come to us or not. So we decided that we'll move nimble-footed. We will, slowly learn over a period of time. We will define the problem well. We will figure out a solution, and we will not press the pedal till the time we are very clear as to in which direction we wanted to move. And since, as I told you, I started focusing on the behavioral aspect, I was also very clear that I'm not going to hire people from the industry. So we hired people from outside the industry or freshers and trained them. So which also meant that we can't grow fast. So these 2 3 reasons, and we were conscious of the fact that we are building a team in a slow and calibrated manner. We were very I think comfortable with the fact that first 10 years, if we grow slowly and reach a pivot, reach a point which is like a reasonably decent point when we are confident, then we can anytime press the pedal. So I think this is the time when we feel very confident about our ability to manage large number of clients. We feel very confident in our ability to manage clients with really large portfolios. In last, I would say 11, 12 years, we have figured out the problem really, really well. In fact, in most of our client meetings, first meetings, we are the one who actually define problems for our clients, and then even they don't know that these are the problems for which may hit them sometime in their life. So we were quite comfortable, but yeah, now's the time when we feel we need to change, we need to move little fast. As far as credibility is concerned, of course there are a set of people who would look at size for credibility, but since in our the way we work, we get maximum leads through reference. Our existing clients only talk to their own friends, family, their colleagues, and refer them to us. So when somebody comes through a reference, then credibility is not an issue, and we are very confident in our own ability to do the right things right way. And we know when a reference is coming, then credibility will not be an issue. So of course, if you look from an industry's perspective, industry may feel that they are small. Industry may feel that they need to become big before they will take us seriously. But when you look at clients who want to be served by us, there we don't see any issue with the credibility. But of course, there's another thing that when we were really small, then hiring people from good background, good pedigree was also an issue, because as you correctly said, credibility. But I think now we've reached a reasonable point wherein that is also not that big a problem. I
So,
hope I answered this question well, because
yes, sir. So coming to your LinkedIn, your tagline is very interesting. It's actually the compound interest formula. So is there a story behind it, or what's the reason that a tagline is a formula?
see. So again, going back to the same point that we realize that the problem is wealth creation and not wealth management. And throughout my life, first 14, 15 years of our life, my life, I was like everybody else, chasing returns. You need to earn high returns to be a successful wealth manager. Your client is looking for high returns, and so it was, the discussion was all around returns. But then I felt that nobody is creating wealth. The wealth is getting created, but not at a pace at which it should get created. So then I looked at this compound interest formula, because I we were always talking about compounding, and nobody was looking at compound interest formula. So when I looked at this formula, then suddenly I realized that, because there are 3 variables in this formula. R is not the only variable. There is P, there is T, and there is R. And mathematically, see, since T is in power, it is the strongest variable, followed by P, which has multiplication sign attached to it, and followed by R, which has an addition and division sign attached to it. So if you look at this formula like that, then you'll realize that R is important because it's a numerator. But then it is only important. It will only play out if your T and P are substantially high. So I suddenly started realizing that we should focus more on T and P, and that is why. And then I looked around and I figured out that no matter which aspect of life you look at, whether it is relationships or it is profession or anything, everything compounds. What happens when a relationship goes sour? You say, give it time. That's what you say. Give it time. What is time? Time is T. Then somebody would suggest you make some effort in the in managing the relationship. What is that? That is P. So you look at anything, profession. T is what? T is doing the right thing for longest period of time. T is what? Effort made by you. So I really got included by this formula, and I started using this everywhere in my life. And when I started focusing on T and P, is when I realized that, wow, now I can see wealth of my clients growing, my own wealth growing, because now the focus is more on P and T. Of course, the focus is on R. I'm not saying that R is negative or anything. I'm just saying that, R is only valuable when T and P are high. So then I kind of made it a formula for my life. No matter what I do, I look at this formula. I see what is the T over here, what is P, and then how can I increase the R. So this is what is all about. And when I also started about studying about behavior, is when I realized that, behavioral mistakes kill T. You're invested in equities, markets are not doing well, suddenly bitcoin starts to do well, or gold starts to move, starts moving up, like the way it happened in last 3 4 5 6 years. Bitcoin's not done well in last 2 years, but gold has. Before that, bitcoin did well. So what happens is that, suddenly you get into that mode of FOMO, wherein you feel that, you should be invested there. And that is when what you kill your existing portfolio, which is a well structured portfolio, and then you move a substantial part of that portfolio to an asset class which is doing well. Then something else starts doing well, then you move there, then you move there. So I realized that, behavior is something which is, behavior management is something which is very important to manage your T. Again, when it comes to P is what? P is your income minus saving is equal to income minus expenses is your P. Basically, it is savings. How do you increase your savings? By spending less. You can't control your income beyond a point. So by spending less. But what gives us happiness? Spending more gives us happiness. See, when you buy a 50,000 rupee phone, mobile phone, versus a 5,000 rupee mobile phone, what gives you more happiness? 50,000 rupee phone or a 1 lakh rupee phone. See, that's how Apple is able to sell, such expensive phones. So again, you have to go against your behavior, and you need to, manage your behavior by saying that, you need to train your mind to think and say that, you should get happiness by not spending more. So looked at these behavioral aspects, and then I realized that this formula has, there is a reason you call it the eighth wonder of the world. And then I started writing it everywhere. It's there on my visiting card, back of my visiting card. It is there on my LinkedIn page. No matter where I go, I use this formula. No matter what I do in my life, whether it is profession or personal life, or managing my clients' money or my own money, I think this is the kind of pivot, you can say, from where I start. So that is why I wrote it. And then a lot of people come, the way you asked me this question, they come and ask me, why have you written this? So it helps me to start my discussion from this point.
So coming to the behavioral aspect of the industry that you were just talking about, you have mentioned in your LinkedIn bio that wealth creation is actually a boring and a simple profession. But what the most of the industry in finance is selling is excitement. So
Yes.
how do you manage to keep a client faithful to you when there is something more exciting always, competing for their attention every single day? How do you manage to keep them faithful to this wealth professional thing?
See, difficult to respond to this because there is no simple answer to this. It's a very, very difficult thing to do in a world which is, full of information. We are living in an information era. We are blasted with information throughout the day through LinkedIn, Twitter, TV, friends, this and that. And everybody is looking at acting all the time. Everybody wants action. They feel that, action is good. US has attacked Iran, do something to the portfolio, sell something, buy something else. So it is, and it's detrimental. It's detrimental. As I told you, your focus goes away from T and P towards R. You start killing your T. You start investing adequately. That starts. Then you kill your P. Basically, you first kill T, then you kill P, and then this whole wealth creation thing goes for a toss. So we've realized that, by not taking too many actions, actually you do a favor to your own self. You do a favor to your wealth creation journey. So we are very confident about this. We keep repeating it time and again. We keep giving examples to our investors, clients, that this is the way it is. So let's assume, when Russia attacked Ukraine, people called us and asked us what is to be done. We said nothing. We don't know anything about this war. We really don't know how long will it last. We really do not know what would be the impact of it. So when you don't know anything, then it is better to stick to your asset allocation, better to stick to your diversification. And if everything is right, then not supposed to do anything much. Same happened this time, and same happened during COVID time. So what happens is that, over time, when we are saying the same thing and we could see positive results coming out of it, then now we talk very confidently about this and we keep repeating this all the time. So this probably is the only way you can do it. And since, as I said, that we get maximum amount of business through referrals, when our existing clients refer somebody to us, they already train them on these aspects. They already tell them that, these are simple and boring guys. They're not going to do much in your portfolio. They're not going to change funds every now and then. They're not going to change the asset allocation. Even when big things are happening, they're not going to do much. So it is tough to train people, but then there is no shortcut to it, and we understand that, and we keep doing the same thing with the same conviction, confidently keep repeating the same thing every now and then, whether it is by our notes, or whether we are verbally talking to anybody, and that's it. Yeah, frankly, there is no perfect answer to it. It is very difficult in today's era to keep things simple and boring. Very, very difficult. And I think, being youngsters, probably you can tell me more about it, because I see your generation, kind of getting information all the time, and whenever I meet youngsters, they have a lot of ideas. Let's do this, let's do that, let's stop doing this. I really don't know what is your experience out of this. What do you feel about it?
Frankly, I would say we also suffer from the same problems that we also have. At any time we're getting more news, we're getting more sort of information that you said. It is an information economy. So we are also sort of confused, like where to, even in our personal choices or in professional choices. So we also face the same problem every day.
Sure. Thanks. Yes.
So you have seen both sides of the industry. You have seen the private banking sector as well, and now since you're running an independent practice, you're more in touch with the clients, move one to one with them. So what is one behavior mistake which even the investors, or even sophisticated investors with years of experience usually make, which now that you have been running your own practice, you often notice that the investors don't notice themselves?
So one is that, investors are always looking for confirmations. You hear something on CNBC, you think that this is logical because what you heard is probably little negative, and you are now fearful that your portfolio may have issues because of what you've heard. Now you want to act, but before acting, you want to confirm. So people go out, talk to multiple people, they're looking for confirmations. When they get that confirmation, because the other guys also probably heard the same thing from CNBC only. So when they get that confirmation is when they come back, and then they feel that, this is the logical thing to act right now. We should make some changes to our portfolio. We should make some changes to our strategy. So getting confirmation from people around you is one of the biggest mistakes people do, and people also think that taking actions all the time is the most logical thing to do. Because see, what happens is, in your bad times when you are not acting, then you get a feeling that I'm not doing anything. See, you feel internally, you feel that you have to act. You have to do something to come out of that situation. But sometimes you need to realize that what is this situation? Is this your own personal situation wherein you have the ability to come out of it, or it is something which is out of your control? So, like, if US attacked Iran, see, this is something which is out of your control. You can't do much about it. You can't do much about it. So, getting confirmation from market and acting on it all the time, I think these are two biggest mistakes which clients do all the time, and our industry also thrives on it, because see, when clients think like that, then some of us also go and tell the client, yes, you're thinking in the right direction, let's do something to the portfolio, because they also do not want to be seen as someone who's not acting in that moment. Not acting means not taking an action in that particular moment. So, and these are known as biases only, confirmation bias and action bias. And confirmation bias is known as mother of all biases. So,
Right, sir.
yeah.
Yeah. Coming to the topic of some emerging technologies in the industry of wealth management, there are now robo advisors or fintech platforms or many AI-driven investing tools which are going mainstream with the public. So in that context, what do you say is one thing that a human advisor can still do for a client that no algorithm or an application or tool can never actually replace?
See, algos can't do much. When I said that the problem is behavioral, algos can't solve that problem. Algos can solve technical problems, analytical problems at best. Algos cannot solve behavioral problems. If somebody is getting greedy or fearful, algo is not going to know that this guy is getting fearful or greedy. And algo can't talk in a language, or a robo advisor can't talk in a language in which they can convince the other person not to, take a wrong decision, or to make a mistake or make a behavioral mistake. So, robo advisory is not successful anywhere in the world. See, only people who start, youngsters who have less money to invest, they start via robo advisory. But moment someone's portfolio becomes meaningfully big, then they look for, human advice. So I'm saying I'm not against using technology for operations and execution. I'm using it from day one. Even when the industry was not using it, we were the ones using it. So I'm not anti-technology, but I don't think, that you can manage someone's behavior using AI and robotech. Maybe 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, it is possible if the AI keeps getting advanced. But as on date, I don't see any challenge coming from this side. In fact, we get new clients who have done this, and then when we look at their portfolios, we see that they've done tons and tons of mistakes. And when we look at their transactions, we figure out that they have done tons and tons of mistakes. And then we tell them that, look at it from this angle, and this is how you should have done or you shouldn't have done. And that is when they realize that there is a value of a human advisor. I don't see stuff wherein human element is very, the kind of job wherein human element is very strong in advisory. See, I don't think robo and all can make meaningful difference. I'll give you another example. See, if someone, so let's assume when any of my family member has some cardiac issue, or has some, oncology related issue, will you go on AI and ask the AI these questions and self medicate? Using that AI tool. Similarly, when it comes to money, see, when you're investing small sum of money, then of course you want that excitement, you want to test things out. But when your portfolios become relatively large, then you want trust on these tools. And I'll give you one more example. Let's assume someone has a portfolio of 10 crores, and they're earning like 1 crore an annum. Now 10% fall in market or portfolio is 1 year's earning. And 10% market fall happens like all the time. Every 4 or 5 months you will see markets go down by 5, 7, 10, 12%. But it has a huge impact on investor's mind, because his 1 year's earning goes down in sometimes in like 7, 8 days. So then his mind go bonkers. Yeah, he wants to do something. He wants to act on the portfolio. He wants to save himself from this downturn and all. Then do you think that if he goes to AI or some robo and asks you what should I do, and if robo tells him don't worry, just don't do anything, and just stay like this, and don't make any change to your portfolio, then would somebody listen to them? I really doubt. So we have to repeat it multiple times. We have to give, if I have to say no to an investor, there are multiple ways in which I can say no. Certain investors will understand no in a logical manner. Certain investors will have to give them a shut up call. Certain cases we'll have to, allow them to make mistakes. We know that unless he makes mistakes, he is not going to understand. So let him make a small mistake, and then we will go and poke them. I don't think AI and robo can do that. to a larger extent. So I'm right now, at least at this juncture, I'm not worried, or I don't think it can make meaningful difference to our life. In fact, positively, we use AI, we use technology to enable our business. From that side, we are quite positive about it.
So, like you have said throughout the podcast, that wealth creation is something which is very unpredictable. You don't know what's happening next. The same way, the client behavior is unpredictable as well. So, what's the question that clients should be asking their advisors, but they never do?
No, no. First of all, wealth creation is not unpredictable. How markets will behave in short term is unpredictable. See, wealth creation happens through A is equal to P multiplied by 1 plus R upon 100 to the power T, compounding. So it is predictable. Time is predictable. You invest for 40 years, that can't change. You invest adequately, P can't change. The kind of asset class you are invested in, whether it is debt or equity, or it's a combination of debt or equity or something else, then broadly you know that in longer term equity is going to give you this much returns, debt is going to give you this much return. So in long term wealth creation, is predictable. It is very much predictable. If in fact that's what we say, that if you manage your behavior well, then wealth creation is predictable. Yeah, markets in short term is not predictable. Second thing, what did you? I just missed that second part of the question.
So, what's one question due to the unpredictable nature that clients should be asking their advisor, but they almost never do?
So see, the issue is clients do not know that they are to be managed behaviorally. So ideally, the first question a client should ask their advisor is that will you manage my investment behavior? Ideally, but this is an ideal world wherein this doesn't happen. And if yes, how? Then how? Or do you think that behavior management is important aspect of anybody's life? Second is that they should genuinely ask them that how will you help me create wealth? And if the answer is that we will tell you when the markets will go up or down, or we will tell you at what point you should be buying what and selling what, or then one should not go ahead with that advisor, because I feel it is not advisor's job. Advisor is not even equipped to do all these things. Fund manager is. See, fund manager is. They do analytical stuff. They do macro, micro. They study sectors. They study themes. They go talk to companies, managements. They make DCF models and different valuation models. They compare one company with another, and so they kind of the good guys, the good fund managers with wisdom. They know how to construct a portfolio well, what not to take, which risks not to take, how the risk reward is looking when they're buying A stock versus B stock in the same sector, or A sector versus B sector. So over there, all those things matter. And but what happens is that investors expect advisor to do all this. Advisor is not equipped to do all this. Advisor is not supposed to do all this. Advisor is supposed to profile a client well. Advisor is supposed to understand their cash flows, inflows, and outflows. That what kind of money will they require after 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, 10 years, 40 years, especially for the major expenses. Advisor is supposed to help them invest their money with fund managers with a lot of wisdom, investors should ask these questions to advisor, that how is that you are going to help me create wealth. And if the answer is analytical, if the answer is action oriented, if the answer involves predicting the market every now and then, and the other person is telling you that he has the ability to predict the market, then one should not move ahead. I think broadly this is what they should ask. But generally nobody asks this. Generally people ask you, how much returns have you generated? How in they talk more about returns.
All right, sir. So many of our listeners here at Vantage are students at SRCC or other colleges of DU, or they're fresh graduates who some of them may be looking to build a career in financial planning, wealth management, or advisory side. What advice would you give them for building something meaningful within it? Not just finding a job, but really building something meaningful within it, like you have done yourself.
I would say start studying behavior, human behavior, and start if you want to genuinely want to become a wealth manager or a financial planner or somebody who wants to help people with wealth creation or management and whatnot. Study human behavior. See, I would suggest that so when someone asks me what do you do, so I tell them that I play two roles. One of an anthropologist, that helps me to profile a client well, and second of a clinical psychologist, because that helps me to manage behavior of my client well. Now I am not I don't have degrees of anthropology or psychology with me, but then and then it's so funny, to become wealth manager you study finance, whereas we don't use finance as much in our job as we use anthropology and psychology. So my suggestion to youngsters would be to explore this aspect of wealth management. Of course, there are different, wealth management companies working very differently. The bigger ones, they don't get into behavior side, aggressively, because I think bigger set of companies cannot do that. It's very tough, and right now the culture is also not there, so the training has not happened in that direction. So I would say if we have to change that culture, and if there is, if and I feel there is a lot of merit in understanding that behavioral aspect, I would suggest youngsters to look at the behavioral side. See now, what happens is that there is a lot of confusion between fund management and wealth management. Like I see youngsters, logging on to screener, getting a lot of data, and then try to figure out whether to invest in a stock or not. So if you want to become a fund manager, or if you want to become a research analyst, who sector analyst or a stock analyst, then that is what you are supposed to do. But if you want to become a wealth manager, then you have to study very different things. You have to study behavior. So I would suggest that some of you should explore the behavioral aspect of this business.
So, coming to our closing question, we wanted to ask, what does the next chapter of Prospurts look like? Like in the next 10 years, what does Prospects would look like, or what were the changes coming in? How do you see Prospects growing in the next 10 years?
See, we genuinely want to help more people. Now we are very confident of where we stand. We are very confident about the problem we are trying to solve. We are very confident of the approach we follow, how we hire people, the kind of people we hire, the way we train them. Now we want to press the pedal is what I can see myself doing in next 10 years. Recently, we have opened our offices in Bangalore and Mumbai. We started our research division, which was earlier in Delhi. We moved it to Bombay so that we can be much closer to fund managers. We could be closer to industry in general. And now, other than waiting for references from our clients, now we've started the outreach program wherein we started approaching the kind of clients we want to sign up, the kind of people we want, to manage their money. We started approaching them ourselves. And see, as I said, compound interest formula is mathematical. So move from 100 to 1,000 is equivalent to 1,000 to 10,000. So if in first 11 years of our wealth management journey, we have reached 1,000 crores AUM from zero, then I feel in next 10 years we have the potential to touch maybe anywhere between 8 to 12, 13, 14, 15,000 crores worth of AUM. That's what we are running for at this point in time. So we would want to expand. We would want to hire more professionals in our company, people who like our approach, people who believe in how we want to create wealth, and we want to create multi-decadal and maybe multi-generational. Too soon for me to say multi-generational, but we want to create sustainable multi-decadal wealth, so that till the time someone is alive, partner, one of the partner is alive, they should have sufficient wealth that before, when they are about to, when they have to spend money, they should not think that the wealth is getting eroded. They should always feel in whatever circumstance that they have sufficient wealth with them for them to survive in a manner in which, by maintaining a good lifestyle, or a lifestyle which they are living today. So this is what we want to do.
That was a really insightful perspective, sir, and a very wonderful note for us to wrap up on. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your experiences, insights, and valuable lessons with us. Your journey and the perspectives that you have shared today with us have given our listeners a deeper understanding of the challenges, opportunities, and the growth that may come with this field. We really appreciate your time and generosity in sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me over. Thank you very much.